Call to order the City Council work session for the City of East Grand Forks for October 22nd, 2019. City Clerk, please call roll.
Mayor Steve Gander.
Here.
Council President Mark Olsted.
Here.
Council Vice President Chad Grassel. Council Members Clarence Vetter.
Here.
Dale Helms.
Here. I'm sorry.
Tim Repeal.
Here.
Tim Johnson.
Here.
And Mark Demers.
Present.
Does the term quorum. Number one, consider authorizing a preparation of plans and specs for the sidewalk project. Mr. Emery.
Thank you, Mr. President. So in March of 2017, the city was awarded a grant through the Federal Transportation Alternative Program for a Safe Route to School sidewalk project in fiscal year 2021. That project will include construction of sidewalk along the south side of 13th Street Southeast from 17th Avenue to 20th Avenue. And then along the north side of 13th Street between 19th and 20th, as well as sidewalk along the east side of 20th Avenue Southeast from 13th Street Southeast up to 10th Street Northeast. If you remember here a couple years ago, we actually held a final assessment hearing when we had the paving project over in the Riverview 10th edition, Riverview Lane area. And as part of that project, we had put in sidewalk. And if you remember, I think the biggest question that those residents had at that time is because they had sidewalk within their subdivision, but it really didn't lead to anywhere. So this project would actually provide kind of those final connections from the subdivision to the school. So again, a good project. You know, we were fortunate enough to receive some grant dollars to complete that project. So again, right now, proposed total project cost, we're estimating at $231,187. Of that, again, we received about $137,000 in TAP funds. And then the remaining balance of $94,187.50, we should be able to use our state aid allocation dollars. So I guess at this point, we're just looking for, I guess, authorization to prepare plans and specifications for this project. This project kind of handled like a regular state aid project with all the criteria. It's got to go to MnDOT for approval and everything else. So the process is fairly lengthy, so we just kind of like to get going on that.
Anybody have any questions for Mr. Emery at this time? Mr. Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. President. I think you said 10th Street Northeast. Was that a typo? The sidewalk's going to run from the...
No. South.
From third, yeah, from
Should be
third.
southeast, not northeast.
Yes.
Yeah, that was a typo. Southeast. Thank you.
Long sidewalk.
Thank you.
Trying to sneak that one by you, Tim. But
No. You're not going to fool an old garbage man in this town.
good catch.
Anybody else have anything at this time? I see none. Thank you, sir.
I do have one thing. I've been asked by administration staff to remind the city council that this is a TAP project, and at the time that we applied for it, that it would be something that the residents would have to move snow off of once it's built. Because I think if we continue applying for grants and doing sidewalk work, and the Parks and Rec department has to continue to remove snow off of that, that's gonna cause more equipment and more employees. And right now we require all the residents on the north end and businesses to move snow off their own sidewalks. So I was asked to remind that was brought up at the time of the application. And so we want to make sure that the school is aware that they'll have to remove snow off of the sidewalk on their property.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Yes.
Anybody else have anything? See none. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Move on to number two, consider repeal of Realtor surcharge on city-owned lots. Mr. Gorte.
Thank you. EDA has struggled with selling the city-owned residential lots for a long time now. And since I've been there, we've talked about different ways of doing it. We have created certain incentive programs, and those have been helpful. But we still have about 50 lots, And our current pace of selling, that'll be like a 15 to 16-year supply of lots still. So we're going to be facing this problem for years and years to come. A few years ago, we looked at the possibility of using MLS. To do that, we'd have to go through the realtors. The realtors, there was a realtor commission that was going to be involved, $3,000 realtor commission. When the discussion came up, there was reluctance. And the EDA and the City Council both discussed, but there was reluctance because the margin on the price that we had in our lots did not provide for enough money to pay for that commission. And the original discussion that occurred pointed that out. There was reluctance to move forward without having something to deal with that issue. We went back to the EDA where there was discussion about raising the lot prices vis-a-vis trying to collect the money or change who pays the realtor fee from the seller to the buyer. And that's what ultimately went through and was recommended for approval and was approved by the City Council. That's counterproductive. It does not, realtors are one of our best assets to try to sell the lots. So we want to, we've discussed it, and the EDA is asking that $3,000 surcharge be removed. Since the time we originally discussed this, the city has deleted the $5,000 incentive program that goes to home purchasers. So that was funded in part by the sale of those lots. There is a margin now in those lots to accommodate that price. And the issue really comes down to, do we want to hang on to the lots and pay as much money as we're paying each year for the next 15 or so years until we can sell all those lots in terms of the specials that we have to pay each year? Or do we want to spend a little bit, get the lots sold faster, and be able to have tax-producing properties? And there have been two realtors who've been working with the city and working this whole time over the last, since I got here 4.5 years ago, to do this, and they have been very helpful on this, and we've talked with them about it, and we'd like to continue to move forward working with that, but we need to remove the surcharge, and we're asking that that occur. Dale and Tim, do you have anything else?
Better. Thank you. I'm wondering if our goal is to get rid of these lots, why don't we just have a land auction? Put them up for an auction and get rid of them, whatever we can get for them.
That has been one of the things that has been talked. The desire was to make sure we got at least enough money to cover our costs that were involved in this. In particular, the costs of the specials that were there, Clarence. So that's why they are still on the market as being sold that way. But that is an option. If that's where the council wants to go, we can certainly do that.
Specials haven't been deferred until the lot was sold?
The specials, we have to pay an annual amount of specials, but at the time the lot is sold, we collect all of the specials. What we do is when the money comes in, it's divided in several different accounts, and it pays on each of the specials that's on the lots as well. So that sales dollars are used to pay off the specials for that particular lot, but it's still part of the overall pool.
Anything else, Mr. Vedder? I'm trying to wrap my head around it. It doesn't seem like that's the way we've done in the past, but that's fine. Harley, did you have something to add to that?
The only thing I was going to add is that when we sell the lot, the specials go into the bond fund, and what he's talking about is a bond is paid. So this is helping us pay down the bond, where some of those accounts actually are almost to the hole because of some of those lots that still are outstanding. And in the past, we had actually transferred money from the general fund to make the bond payment.
Okay,
So when we collect the specials, then they go to the bond
So
fund.
specials have been deferred on the lots, and when the lot's sold, then all the specials are paid for.
Correct.
So if we have a land auction and they buy the land, that's one thing. Now all the specials come due on it, and they'd have to pay the specials.
Correct, and the specials have been paid when they paid for it. When they buy the lot, the specials are
Okay,
paid.
but if we have a land auction, we could set it up to where those specials aren't included in that.
Actually, we've set, the council decided that we wouldn't do that because otherwise their specials would be 20 years going out another 20 years, and they've already been 10 or 15 years, and I know Ron could speak to that, so that the specials wouldn't be ongoing when we maybe even had to have some repairs done. That was kind of the gist of that, right, Ron?
My understanding, right now, the lot prices include the special assessments. The special assessments were actually spread out over all of the lots, not individually like they were originally assessed.
And the city's been paying those,
So-
that bond amount since then.
So we're paying the bond, but they have been assessed to each property. It's just that those properties have not been sold, have not been sent to the county.
Correct.
Yes.
So if one were to be sold, under the current policy, what we're asking for, the price of the lot would cover the specials. What I'm saying is, we put them up for auction and they're buying the land, now the specials that have been deferred would become due on the property over and above what they get on the auction price.
Correct. So then what we probably would have to do is the auction would have to have a set price that we're getting at least this amount for the specials. Is that what your intention would be?
Nope. I'm thinking that the specials are still deferred.
But there's
so-
no specials on these anymore, are
We
there?
have been paying the specials.
Because-
We have been paying the
We've been
specials.
paying the bond.
We've been paying the bond, but the specials are still
So-
tied to the property.
And you can't defer specials on paving.
Well, you can't defer the bond. You can defer the specials, so once the lot is
I don't
sold,
think
then
you
the
can
specials
defer
come due on
special
it.
on paving. I think you can on water and all those others, but I don't think,
I think what he's getting at is we'd have to reevaluate the process that the city has already established on including the specials in the overall price. The way they've been set up, so what he would want you to do is basically just sell the lots and no longer defer the specials and have them attached to each individual lot going forward, so that whoever bought them would be responsible to pay it off rather than the city.
Correct.
Two separate items.
Two separate items.
You have an auction, more than likely you're going to sell it. You're not going to get what you want for it.
No.
You get
But
it
you
off
get
of
rid-
our
you
hands
get
and
it
into
off,
someone
yeah.
else's hands.
And then we start getting the specials after.
I think the issue that Carla was coming at is that those specials have been on that property since the roads were put in. They haven't been specifically paid. The bond's been paid, so that if you sold those lots right now, there'd still be 20 years of specials on each individual lot.
And you're not
And-
sure about the life of the asset.
And the asset has been depreciated over time.
That's correct. So, for example, if you sell the lot, we have a price set for $45,000. The actual cost of the lot to the city when we purchase the land is $5,300. And there might be $30,000 of specials on it. So the difference is the only thing that we're making as a profit over and above the actual cost of the lot and the specials.
And that profit is used to pay the incentive programs that are still in place, such as that's the source of revenue to pay for the property tax rebate on new homes. And that's on city-owned, that's supposed to cover all the homes, because that program is not simply just for city residential lots, but that's a source of revenue for that money, and the flights were priced to include that. It also includes the landscaping incentive program.
But to answer Mr. Vedder's question, you could do it the way you're saying.
And currently, if we sell a lot, we're getting $45,000. If we go through the auction, they might pay $1,000 for a lot and have $30,000 in specials. They're paying $31,000 for it. Be done with it.
are there currently specials on the rolls at the county right now for those properties?
No.
Okay. So we would have to go back and.
But some of the roads are, 15 years old, so they could have to replace them in 10 years with another assessment.
And on a $45,000 lot, that would be about $33,000 worth of specials on that lot, because the EDA, with the approval of the council, set up at least a $12,000 margin to cover the incentive programs.
And all you're doing is hiding it right now. I mean, you're buying a $45,000 lot, you're still paying the specials, you're just paying for it up front. And there might be maintenance on it 10 years from now. Either scenario, it still works out the same. It just gets the lots out of our hands quicker.
Yep, or just put the lots up for 1,000 and pay the specials. They paid the specials.
Yep.
It's the same principle,
And then
There
your
again.
realtor fees are lower.
right?
I think we should give it a chance to let the realtors move our inventory. We don't want to flood the market with below-market priced lots. We'd create a distortion, I think, in the marketplace that's not very courteous to the other developers in our area. We want to try to maintain the kind of price point that they would have to have in order to take bare land, plat it, do all the infrastructure, all of it. And I don't think we know, because I've had several realtors approach me and say, the policy that you have caused the whole group of realtors to really become disenfranchised with selling your lots. And so therefore, this could open the door to starting to move that inventory of lots. We don't know. If we run it this way for 1 or 2 years, getting it into the MLS, of course, that promotes it, but also giving the incentive to the realtors to actually earn money selling the lots, because they had our customers buying the lots had a huge incentive not to use a realtor in the way that we were doing it. And they're savvy and they're smart. They just say, we're going around the realtors. Well, and the realtors aren't pitching our product. So that's how the predicament that we were in. We don't know yet in the MLS with the realtors behind it how fast they can move this inventory at closer to market rates.
And using the realtors would increase the visibility and the marketability of the lots, because people would know about them.
Yeah.
Right now, if you don't go to the website and aren't a little bit savvy about where you can find the lots, you don't see the lots, the city-owned lots.
Right. I really believe we at least need to give it 1 to 2 years in the hands of the realtors, get some enthusiasm behind it, see if they can move some of those lots at the current pricing.
Anybody else have anything? Mr. Gorte? You can move it on and have a vote on it next week then.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Number 3, request to set public meeting regarding jurisdictional transfer. Mr. Murphy.
Thank you, Council President. At a previous council meeting, there was the discussion about the jurisdictional transfer for Old Business 2 for part of Demers, and there was discussion about how that might affect the property owners along Business Highway 2. So the council had asked before they make a decision on that to maybe have a meeting or check out the idea of having a meeting with the property owners along there to get any input that they might have on this transfer. For any future expansion they might have or use of their property that would require an access or those type of things. Also, for the potential for any assessments in the future. So with that, we looked at a date that might be available and open, other than a council meeting night. So that makes it quite difficult. Wednesdays are usually pretty tough, Tuesdays and Thursdays with sports and things. So we looked at Monday would probably be our best bet. So we're looking at Monday, November 4th, and it should be 2019 on there. See, we got a typo on that. Starting at 5:30, and that would be here. So if that works with everybody, we would send out the notice and see what kind of input we get.
That's for commercial and residential properties, right?
Correct.
Okay. Anybody have any comments or direction?
Talking about a mock assessment or something on that at the last meeting. I think Mr. Demers was the one that brought that up.
Megan?
So I guess the thought behind the letter was giving them some information, and then staff and Steve can prepare the information to give if he wants to prepare a mock assessment roll, something like that, just to give him an idea of what it might look like, but bring all that information to the meeting, because it'll be a couple weeks so people can get it on their calendar. We didn't want to send out too much, so we can try and entice people to actually come, give their input, and actually get more information firsthand, so there isn't confusion, or if they see something and think that's what's going to happen, kind of a thing.
Particularly with the price, because we're talking years out. I mean, it's really speculative on what that might cost.
30 years out.
I don't think we've even as a group decided if we got, say, $9 or $10 million, that would be equivalent to the cost of replacing that street. Would we set it aside for that street replacement in the future, or would we start to use it on other state aid projects throughout our city? Even that hasn't been decided.
I know, but I think the main purpose for why we wanted to do this is to get them on the same page as what's going on, and if they have any input of their desires and looking out in the future of, if this happens, this is what's going to happen to you. You're going to have specials going forward. So we wanted to be upfront and use your word, transparent, to the citizens to make sure that we're not coming at them and say, well, we're going to take this $9 million, but hey, we're not doing your road.
Exactly. So I think it's a great idea to have the meeting, but we'll have to be also very clear to them that some of the details, even on the backside, are being worked out internally by the council.
I think we include the information that we got last
If we're
meeting.
getting reimbursed through the state, let's say that $9 or $10 million, I don't know that we can assess that project at that point, because the state's already gave us the money. I don't think you can turn around and assess 30% of it.
Darren said no.
Right.
If the cities reimburse that, the state would not allow the city to
Right.
do any sort of
It's
assessment.
No, but-
almost
But
double dipping.
The mayor was bringing up the point that if we took it and not did it, we take the lump sum of money and not do it, then down the road, if we did it, they would be assessed 100%.
Then you could assess 30%.
And even if you did it, 20 years down the road, you're going to have to do it again. So at that point, you're going to have to assess them. So
Right.
this really, I mean, getting them in the room kind of is to bring them, there was a lot of pushback when the safety commission, or safety crew was looking at what the options were for the Business Highway 2 and 220 intersection. And there was a lot of business owners along that corridor that said, well, if we just owned it, we could do what we wanted there, no matter what, But there's a price to to your freedom. And I guess, I mean, if they are happy with that price and want those type of changes, I guess maybe we should consider it. If not, then no.
I know I fielded some call on this, and and I talked to him about, would you attend a meeting if we went over this to make sure everybody knows what's going on? And he said, yeah, we want to know what's going on. We want to know what the possibility of, from now, what do we get special assessed into the future, if there's a chance that we're going to be assessed, since we haven't changed our policy 100%, down the road, let's say we did take it back and we did this road later, and they get assessed. So it's not going to be state aid street anymore. It's going to be city owned.
It'll still be on our state aid system, though. It'll always be on our state aid system.
They want to know everything. I mean, I think we
Right.
need to give them the right, even the residents. I think we need to make sure we walk
Right.
through it.
And I think the informational meeting is great. I think it's good to get input from them. My only fear is, I mean, these estimates are rough, and once you tell people numbers, they don't forget them.
I'm not asking you to give them numbers.
Yeah.
But that's was
I
asked.
mean, I think if more information, just more of an informational meetings, get some feedback from them, I think would be good, but I don't know that we want to start throwing out assessment numbers yet at this point.
But you can speak in generalities that there would likely be some special assessments coming down the road.
Correct.
If not in the first replacement, then long-term.
Exactly.
After that last meeting, see, I had never ever thought about the turnback as having a local impact on property owners. That came out in our last meeting, that there could be some costs attached to the adjacent properties. The other thing I hadn't thought of is, I'm half owner of a storage building along that strip that does not have frontage to that street. And I didn't even think about it as being potentially a conflict of interest on my part. So it was between meetings, I shot out an email to Mr. Emery, Mr. Galstead, and I said, okay, first of all, I need an opinion from you. If there ever would be a special assessment project along there, though our warehouse doesn't touch the frontage, it's fed by that road, would we have specials? And he said, yep, by our current formula, you would. Well, that turns into certainly the appearance of a conflict of interest. Checked it out with Mr. Galstead, and he said, You could participate in the conversation, not influencing other council members. I could not use my veto power to break a tie. Believe me, I will stay way clear of any conflict of interest. So Ron will show me, where is that line, and I'll just stay way clear because we're going to do it right. But I wanted to just disclose that, and it came to my mind between the last meeting and this one as being, okay, I'm gonna have to pay attention and
You wouldn't,
run it right.
you going that initial step, because you're at the meeting we had, there might be other people out there that don't know
Yeah,
that this could be an impact. on them.
Exactly.
That's why.
didn't even pop into my head until after. So just wanted to disclose
Thanks
that.
for making my point.
Yeah. It's a good meeting coming up, very important.
So you can sit in the audience at that meeting?
Throw rotten vegetables right
Keep
at
the
you.
microphone away from you?
I think, with your permission, I think it'd be good to have Darren Lash or some MnDOT representative at the meeting too, because I guess they're the ones that really are asking the city for this transfer, so.
Good idea.
Everybody okay with the date? Sounds good. Alrighty. Entertain a motion to adjourn. Move. By Repeal. Second by Johnson. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion is carried. Meeting is adjourned. We'll go into our closed session in a couple minutes here.